NSCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Always nice to see who you wander across in the hallways, might have a quick word with.
So I think it's exciting to meet youth coaches and high school coaches and even college coaches who are all really passionate about the sport.
It's a learning experience. I think it's invaluable both from a coach standpoint and from an administrative standpoint.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. No matter where you are in your coaching path, we have something for you. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
And welcome to the 2014 NSCAA NAIA Game of the Week presented by Turbo Sports. Tonight, we wish you a pleasant, good Saturday evening from Atchison, Kansas. And this Heart of America Athletic Conference matchup between the Baker Wildcats from Baldwin City, Kansas, and the Benedictine Ravens from right here in Atchison, Kansas. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Digby joined by Todd Panula. And Todd, we get ready for this matchup. We take a look at the two teams. Both were ranked in the top 15 in the preseason coaches poll of the NAIA, but they haven't quite had the starts to the season that they wanted to. Both teams coming into this match with a 4-4-1 record. Obviously not where they want to be, but certainly with league play just about to start in a couple minutes, this is a good opportunity to get back on track.
Yeah, as you said, these teams not coming in with the form that they would have expected coming into this game. We expected probably double-digit wins even maybe for one or two of these teams. Instead, they come in at 4-4-1. But plenty to play for with the rest of the season because we're really getting into things, as you said, with conference play starting up and trying to get into everything. But it's going to be a really interesting matchup because these two teams very similar, same records, goals just about even with both squads as well. So, I mean, the difference between these two teams is going to be marginally thin so far tonight.
Yeah, and especially on the point of Baker, they were winless in their first 5 games to start the season, but then they have gone on the roll, winning their last 4. And in that 4-game win streak, they have scored 11 of their 15 goals in the 2014 season, and 8 goals this season from a defender, Amir Didic, who has 8 goals on the season. He's a junior from Edmonton, Alberta in Canada. He's going to be one of the bright spots for the Wildcats tonight.
Yeah, they're really going to have to focus on him, Benedictine is. Because he can strike at a moment's notice. He's got foot skills. He's lethal around the box, and he's capable of putting it in the back of the net at the moment's notice. So Benedictine's going to have to keep an eye on him. But they're no stranger to the offensive side of the ball themselves. So, I mean, the Wildcats are going to have to be solid defensively if they want to try to pick up a win here as well.
Well, Benedictine coming off a 2-1 win over Bethany, so trying to build a little bit of momentum, getting back to the 4-4, although they do have the one tie, while Baker also coming off a win themselves with a 4-3 triumph over Ottawa. Both those games were at their respective home campuses, but now Benedictine, they also have a little bit of pressure because it is family weekend here in Atchison, and the Raven sports teams are already 2-0 on the day. Football had a 16-6 win earlier this afternoon over Evangel, and just a couple minutes ago, the women's soccer team just triumphed over the Baker women's soccer Wildcats by a score of 3-0. So do you think there's any pressure on a chance to make it a perfect sports Saturday for the Benedictine Ravens?
I think there is a little bit of pressure. I don't know that they're necessarily going to look at those outside performances and try to put that on themselves. But anytime you have a situation like this where it's family weekend and you have people coming in, you're worried about hotel rooms and where everybody's going to stay and kind of things that don't necessarily have to do immediately with the soccer pitch. So your mind might not necessarily be right on the game every single moment leading up to it. So you got to get yourself focused quickly to try to regroup and get things going on the right foot.
Yeah, let's take a look at the starting lineups just given to us a couple minutes ago by the two head coaches. First for the Baker University Wildcats, their head coach in his 7th season is Nate Hauser, assisted by Andy Grunenbaum, Sean McAllister, Nick Aguilar, and Matt Bickley. Starting goalkeeper for the Wildcats is a freshman from Olathe, Kansas, number 1, Nick Riggle. And the outfield players, number 2, Kyle Young, number 4, Austin Shiney, number 5, Amir Didich, number 7, Julian Sansano, number 11, Matt Ham, number 12, Preston Phillips, number 14, Spencer Atkin, number 21, Andrew Miller, number 22, Robert Hoven, and number 23, Blake Levine. Right now, pregame ceremony is being administered. We will be stepping aside shortly for the national anthem. And now we are going to take a look at the Benedictine Ravens starting 11, starting goalkeeper for the Ravens, a senior from Overland Park, Kansas, number 1, Taylor Vintage. And now look at the outfield players for Benedictine. Number 4, Johnny Clifford, number 5, Sean Latz, number 10, Fabio Priori, number 11, Guillermo Gomes, number 14, Kenneth Clarizio, number 15, Brian Johnson, number 19, Ryan Dickerson, number 20, Frankie Washington, number 23, Robert O'Keefe, and number 24, Parker Malott. Robert O'Keefe actually was a game-time decision, changing the starting lineup. He will come in place of the original starter, Adam James, and that could be big for the Benedictine offense because James is one of the leading scorers for the Ravens in 2014 so far with 3 goals. He's tied for the team lead with Ryan Dickerson. What kind of mentality do you think that would be for head coach Rob Herringer?
Yeah, we weren't really told what the reasoning for the change was, but I think you have to try to come in and not but too much about not having a certain player in the lineup because obviously losing one of your leading scorers is going to put your team behind the 8 ball a little bit, but you have to worry about your team as a whole. You can't focus solely on one player and one change regardless of what caused that change, and you just kind of have to work through it out there on the pitch and work as a team.
Well, both teams, as we mentioned earlier, began this season in the top 15 of the NAIA coaches preseason poll. That was largely of a result of their fantastic 2013 seasons, where Baker went 15-6-2. They were the tournament champions for the Heart of America Athletic Conference, and they made the round of 16 in the NAIA National Championships before losing to Ashford. Same deal for Benedictine. Only difference, the Ravens did not win the conference tournament championship, but they did finish 11-4-3, again making the NAIA National round of 16 before losing on penalty kicks to the eventual national runner-up in Auburn Montgomery. So this is set to be a fun one, a little rivalry here from Atchison, Kansas, about an hour northwest of Kansas City. It's the Benedictine Ravens and the Baker Wildcats, and we are bringing it to you live on the Turbo Sports Group Network. As the teams are being introduced, Baker will be the visiting team in blue, dark blue with white trim, dark blue shorts, blue socks with white trim, and numbers in white on the front and back, while Benedictine in red with white trim, white shorts, red socks, and black numbers. Right now, let's pause for the national anthem.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for all these players, their families, and all who have guided them. In the words of St. Benedictine in the prologue, what, dear brothers and sisters, is more delightful than this voice of the Lord calling to us? See how the Lord in his love shows us the way to life. Show us your path, Lord, this evening. Be with us and guide us always. We ask all of these things through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Father Conrad. Please remain standing as we honor the United States of America with the playing of our national anthem.
As always, we take this opportunity to thank the men and women, past, present, and even the future ones, for serving our country in our greatest times of need. We certainly greet those listening in tonight. If you're just joining us, a quick repeat of the starting lineup for the Benedictine Ravens. In goal, a senior from Overland Park, Kansas, number 1, Taylor Vintage. And the starting outfield players, Johnny Clifford, Sean Latz, Fabio Priori, Guillermo Gomes, Kenneth Clarizio, Brian Johnson, Ryan Dickerson, Frankie Washington, Robert O'Keefe, and Parker Malott. Head coach of the Ravens in his 10th season is Rob Herringer, assisted by John Schad and Terry Danker. Starting lineup for the Baker Wildcats, the visiting team tonight from Baldwin City, Kansas. Their starting goalkeeper, a freshman from Olathe, Kansas, number 1, Nick Riggle. And the starting outfield players, number 2, Kyle Young, number 4, Austin Shiney, number 5, Amir Didich, number 7, Julian Sansano, number 11, Matt Ham, number 12, Preston Phillips, number 14, Spencer Atkin, number 21, Andrew Miller, number 22, Robert Hoven, and number 23, Blake Levine. Starting, and the head coach of the Wildcats in his 7th season is Nate Hauser, assisted by Andy Grunebaum, Sean McAllister, Nick Aguilar, and Matt Bickley. Philip Teese, Caleb Perry, Robert Walters are the men in yellow. Philip Teese, the man entering the center circle, as Benedictine in red will kick off going right to left across your screen. That would be north to south for those interested in the geographic directions. And standing over the ball are Guillermo Gomes and Parker Malott. So they will start us off here. It's Benedictine and Baker, the start of HAAC conference play, and it's live on Turbo Sports. Enjoy the broadcast, enjoy the ball game, everybody. As Benedictine maintaining pressure, quick turnover, and a sent back by Andrew Miller. Again, a late change in the Benedictine starting 11. Adam James, one of the leading scorers for the Ravens, not included in the starting 11. He's been replaced by Robert O'Keefe, a junior from St. Louis, Missouri. Free kick awarded to Baker will be taken by Austin Shiney. Shiney's free kick sent into the box. And takes a couple of bounces out of bounds. Last touch by Benedictine in the first quarter of the game will come just 40 seconds into the match. It will take place at the northwest corner of the field. It will be Shiny again to take.
And I think Benedictine's going to have to try to clean some of that stuff up. You can't take silly fouls that close to the box. The challenge in and of itself was okay, but then he followed through with a push that was quite unnecessary. You get a free kick, now a corner kick.
Shiny's cross reaches inside the 6-yard box. Headed across the mouth, cleared out. Towards Gomes. Pokes it forward, and a one-touch pass out on the wing. This is going to be Robert O'Keefe. The late addition to the starting 11 for the Ravens. Turned over back to Baker. Wildcats looking for their 5th straight win of the season. And a critical road win to start positively in conference play. Again, Benedictine looking to cap off what has so far been a perfect sports Saturday at Family Weekend here in Atchison. Football had a 16-6 win this afternoon over Evangel. And just about a half hour ago, the women's soccer squad finished up a 3-0 win over Baker. This is Johnny Clifford. Turn back over to Baker. Good defense there to win the ball back by the Ravens, and Philip Teese awards a free kick to BC. Temperature tonight in the 40s, bit chilly. Sweaters and blankets are mandatory here. About an hour northwest of Kansas City. Free kick will be taken by one of the few seniors on this Benedictine squad, Fabio Priori from Sao Paulo, Brazil. These two teams coming into this game very young on the rosters. Not a whole lot of seniors. Frankly, no seniors, as far as I can tell, on the Baker roster.
And I think you kind of see that exemplified within their records. Both of these teams coming in 4-4-1, and they had expectations going into the year because both teams have plenty of talent, but they've just yet to kind of form that cohesion you need as a team.
Throw in awarded to Benedictine in the 4th minute. Actually, it is a free kick. Rather, a corner kick. A lot of physicality going on inside the box. Players looking to get themselves in a promising position. Corner kick taken in low, and a lot of contact. A Wildcat defender went down inside the box. Free kick given to Baker University.
We've seen that a lot from both teams so far here in the early going. And I understand that this is a rivalry match and you want to kind of set the tone early and everything, but you waste a chance right there in committing a foul inside the offensive box. You give away a good scoring opportunity on a potential corner kick.
Benedictine clears out. Sent right back to Matt Ham. And a free kick awarded to Benedictine. Well, both these schools have one thing in common besides playing in the HAAC. They did have preseason exhibition matches against NCAA Division II Rockhurst. That was the very school we visited last night when Rockhurst unable to spoil Quincy's undefeated season so far, a 1-0 Quincy Hawks win in Kansas City. And today we were able to make the hour-plus trek up to Atchison. Throw in awarded to Baker will be taken by Andrew Miller. And a free kick awarded to Baker. Robert Hoven was in the middle of there, drawing contact and a foul. And promising chance here for Baker. We saw their first free kick of the game not too long ago, easily creating a corner kick, if not a goal-scoring opportunity.
And this one, although further away from goal, is probably just as dangerous because it's from a more direct route. You have multiple options here. You can try to swing it across, looking for a header, or take a direct shot right here.
Austin Shiney, the junior from Topeka, Kansas, sends it in. Cleared out of the 18-yard box by Benedictine. And Last player to touch was Matt Ham. So Taylor Vintage will take the ensuing goal kick. Vintage comes into this game averaging about 4.5 saves per game. That puts him at first in the conference in saves per game. He has a .82 goals against average. Throw-in taken well down that far side of the field. Benedictine wins the ball back on a throw-in. Just about 6.5 minutes old here from Atchison, Kansas. Located right on the border between Kansas and Missouri. This is Amir Didic, leading scorer for the Wildcats through 9 games, nearly averaging a goal a game. Long clearance, and Baker will simply reset. Didic heads back to Nick Riggle, so Riggle's first touch of the ball coming in the 8th minute.
Early stages of this one right now, and you can't fault either team for that kind of feeling out process. But right now it seems like both teams are being a little too direct, trying to get forward, 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 instead of maybe coming back with a pass every now and then.
Well, we mentioned Baker going for a 5th straight win. Their previous 4 wins, they've scored nearly 3 goals a game. They've had 11 of their 15 goals coming in that win streak. And they're certainly eager to continue that impressive rise tonight, while Benedictine, they've been more patient. They've been looking for more opportunities, fighting for physicality, it looks like, in these opening 7 minutes. Throw in for Benedictine, taken by Kenneth Clarizio, the senior from Denver. Now Ravens building a string of passes across into the box intended for Parker Malott, cleared out. Foul, says Philip Teese, and awards a free kick back to Baker. Turbo Sports is the official video streaming and production company of the NSCAA Game of the Week. Be sure to log on to our website, turbosportsgroup.com, to purchase game highlights, full game reels, and player-specific highlight reels. That's Turbo Sports Group, TOURBEAU, sportsgroup.com. Matt Digby, Todd Panula coming to you from Atchison, Kansas, as Baker sending a cross in, collected on a hop by Vintage. And just nearly 10 minutes played, Todd. Looks like Baker may have had the more direct opportunities on goal, but Benedictine right now getting a bunch of passes strung together and trying to build an attack themselves.
Yeah, and I think if they continue that, they'll have better chances coming down the road, because we've seen they've created a few opportunities like this one perhaps here.
O'Keefe finding Gomes. Getting around 2 Baker Wildcats, but not the third. Cleared back towards center circle. Towards Brian Johnson. Intercepted by Spencer Atkin. And now Baker. Ball poked from behind, turned back over to the Ravens. Shiny. Very influential playmaker who's already made his presence felt in central midfield in these opening 10.5 minutes. Action taking place right on the goal line and out for a Benedictine goal kick. Taylor Vintage, the senior from Overland Park, Kansas. We actually stayed in the Overland Park last night.
Very nice day. I was pleased with the accommodations.
One-touch pass from Frankie Washington, intercepted by Baker. Uncertain pass from Kyle Young. Now out to the wing, bringing it forward. Here's Robert Hoven. Goes down, though foul. Ham keeps possession anyway for the Wildcats. And a long attempted clearance from Robert O'Keefe. And Priori will take the ensuing Raven throw-in. Well, we talked about this last night, Todd, but the cold weather certainly proving to be a factor, especially in one of those situations where the ball is kicked hard and it deflects off an unexposed part of your body. It just, that sting will stay a little while longer, makes it very uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, and we're seeing a few more long sleeves here than we did last night because I think the players are expecting it. But even when you know it's coming, you don't necessarily take that sting away because we've been in the 80s for most of this summer into early fall, and really it's only been within the past couple days that the temperatures have dropped, so players haven't had a time to acclimate to it.
Benedictine bench wanted the foul called. Philip Teese disagrees, awards a Baker throw-in, and now all of the Wildcat outfield players are in the attacking half of the field. This is Andrew Miller, long throw-in, reaches just inside the 6-yard box, headed goalward, and now Ham, a partial collision there with Vintage. Clean contact made. Vintage awarded to take the goal kick. Taken short to Priori, and again, you see another one of those deflections, although that was off the back of the jersey, the body not necessarily exposed there. You know, it might hurt a little bit, but if at all. Here's Shiny. Julian Sansano, back to Young. Nearly a quarter hour gone here in this HAAC League opener between the Ravens and Wildcats. Both teams making the NAIA National Championship round of 16 a year ago, wanting to get back to the NAIA National Championships, which this year are being held in Delray Beach, Florida. Just a little bit more of a drive than they made last year to Montgomery, Alabama.
It's just a little bit of an extra trek.
Here's Benedictine, bringing the ball across midfield, turned back over to the Wildcats. Chip down on the wing, though Raven in pursuit of the ball, and Baker with the defensive throw-in. As we see Rob Herringer and Nate Hauser, the two head coaches, yelling instructions from the sideline. Herringer tonight electing for the suit, the black jacket, black suit pants, and a tie. That's not something we've seen from any of the head coaches of the games we covered so far this season.
Yeah, looking pretty sharp, but I hope he's got something on underneath that because I've worn a suit in nothing but cold weather, and those layers get a little bit thin.
Yeah, absolutely. I have too. And a long-range shot. Riggle making his first save of the night. And he will take the collection. So far, only one shot, as recorded by the official statistician for tonight's game. That's come from Austin Shiny for Baker.
I I don't necessarily fault him for trying that as well, because it's early in the game. You want to get that goalkeeper tested, especially from range. See if you're going to get any kind of bobble, any kind of rebound loose, because even if nobody gets to it, you remember that for the next time.
Clever backheel touch from Ham. Tried to send that in towards Wildcat forward. Vintage played the alert keeper and collected the ball on the hop. Now a long ball sent down the right wing, collected on the hop by Riggle.
And again, just a little bit too direct there from Benedictine. You'd like to see that swing across maybe to the near side wing, or at least keep it outside the 18 for somebody to run onto.
For those interested in the geographic directions, you are facing west. Baker is attacking the north goal, Benedictine the south goal. And our broadcast location right next to our main camera, we are to the east of the BC Soccer Complex. Throw into Baker, headed back out by Sean Latz, the senior from Overland Park, Kansas. Baker keeping possession now from about 25 yards out. And a one-time shot fielded cleanly by Vintage. Not the most difficult save he has had to make during his time here in Atchison. But again, Baker trying to build confidence, and that is their first shot on target of the entire match.
But again, as I pointed out over here on the left side, you take a long-range shot like that, you put it in the goalkeeper's mind because he didn't catch that cleanly. And as I've said, goalkeepers were a little bit strange, we're a little bit off our rocker upstairs, and you put a little seed of doubt in his head, and maybe that pays off down the road.
And as you saw in the replay, it was Austin Shiney, so the only player tonight to have registered shots, including one on target, is indeed the junior from Topeka, Kansas. Throw in awarded to Baker will be taken by Andrew Miller. Cleared out for another Wildcat throw-in. Originally, Blake Levine wanted to take it. Will concede to Miller. Now in the 19th minute. And a cross cleared off the line, sent out of bounds, deflected last touch by Baker, and Benedictine awarded the goal kick. You notice the brick buildings here. We are in the heart of campus, and that's something personally I do find to an advantage when you have the athletic fields on campus. I know there were a couple of stadiums we were at earlier this season that are kind of way out of the way from the actual campus of the home school, but to have this setting does play an advantage to the players, to the fans, to everybody involved.
Yeah, and I think because you can do everything you want right on campus, the players feel much more at home. You don't have to bus over to your own home field. Instead, you can just walk over from wherever you might be staying, wherever class you might have, walk right over, change in the locker rooms, and get ready for the match.
As Didich brings the ball forward for Baker. A long ball sent forward intended for Levine. And down goes Priori. Free kick awarded to Benedictine. The only school I can think of that we've had a game so far where there was clearly a distance between the actual playing field and the actual campus was when we opened our series in Charleston, West Virginia. The University of Charleston located right in the heart of downtown, while the stadium we were at, Schoenbaum Stadium, a couple miles to the north of downtown Charleston, all the way out by the airport. Schoenbaum Stadium at Coonskin Park was the name of the stadium. And a free kick awarded to Benedictine here. This is the first set piece they've had in attacking territory this match, coming in the 21st minute. What are you looking for here, Todd?
I think they're probably going to try to play one over towards here, the near side, slide one across, look for a head ball, maybe just a little bit of a flick here. It's a little bit too far to try a direct shot unless they actually put a rip into it and try to go upper 90, but that's a hard thing to do.
Two players standing over the ball, Parker Malott, but this is going to be Guillermo Gomes. And just sliding it past the southwest post. Nick Riggle looked to have the angle covered, but Guillermo Gomes, a senior from Sao Paulo, just like Fabio Priori, just unable to curl it on target, and Baker dodging a bullet.
Guess that shows what I know. he put a rip into that one, kept it low, troubled the goalkeeper, because as a goalkeeper, that's what offensive players forget sometimes. Goalkeepers hate balls on the ground. If you can avoid, you'd much rather make a diving save up towards the top of the goal than have to hit the ground hard.
Baker quick to take this attacking throw-in toward Ham. Tried to get across in, smart block by Frankie Washington, allowing the Benedictine center defender to come over and clear towards Ryan Dickerson. Dickerson, one of the leading scorers so far this season for the Raven offense with 3 goals. He's tied for first with Adam James, who was a late scratch from the starting 11 as made by Rob Herringer. Just about 5 minutes prior to game time, we were told Robert O'Keefe will be starting in place of James. And right now, Teese is going to the pocket, and a yellow card shown for the first time in the 22nd minute.
And I think you could see that one coming, the way that Baker had really been kind of reckless with some of their challenges lately, especially the player right there, Matt Ham, who gets yellow carded. He ends up getting injured on the play as well, so he gets a double whammy on that play. But everything that's going on right now in terms of Baker, they need to calm down a little bit. They've had the better of possession overall, and when they lose it, they get a little too frustrated. It's just like, get behind the ball, recover, put yourself in a good defensive position. There was really no need for that kind of challenge coming in from the side and taking the player out. And now they lose Ham, as he will have to take a seat over on the bench here.
Yeah, and to add insult to injury there, it was Ham who was shown the yellow card. You can deduce that from the fact that Benedictine has been awarded the ensuing free kick. And Ham being helped off to the bench, he will be replaced by number 16, number 18, Jordan Thacker, the sophomore midfielder from Overland Park, Kansas. And Ham, who had been a little bit influential in the opening parts of this first half, now having a seat on the bench as he himself was injured in that collision, in addition to being booked. And here's Thacker's first touch of the ball. Lost out to Priori. Able to shield the newly brought on substitute and allow Vintage to take another goal kick.
Benedictine flirting with disaster a little bit right there. A couple giveaways from the back line. They need to be a little bit more sure if they're going to make a clearance there or try to pass it somewhere in the defensive end.
Here's Ryan Dickerson, lost out to Baker again, taken over by Robert Hoven. Robert, one of 2 Hovens on this roster, younger brother Craig, both coming from Olathe South High School in Olathe, Kansas. As Baker, here's Blake Levine just outside the 18-yard box. Falling to Miller. Cross into the 18-yard box, headed out with a little bit of uncertainty, and right to a Wildcat who drives it low, collected on the dive by Vintage. And that was Austin Shiney again. He has been all over the place offensively in a good way for the Baker Wildcats. But Vintage able to keep a clean sheet so far with nearly 25 minutes played.
And that is one thing that the Benedictine defense has managed to do, is they've managed to keep the majority of Baker's opportunities from the outside. And as a goalkeeper, you always appreciate that, because the better angle you have in terms of your posts, the more likely it is that you're going to make a save.
Vintage will Send this clearance just past midfield. Slight collision there involving Preston Phillips from the Wildcats. Ravens get the ball, turn it back over again. That's something we've seen a lot as well throughout this first half. Benedictine just trying to thread the pass. It just ends up being a bit shorter than intended, and Baker's defense is able to snuff it out and create a turnover. Here's Phillips. Now Gomes for Benedictine. Robert Hoven. Now back to Didic. Team leading 8 goals for the Wildcats from his defensive spot. Now Young sends a long ball down the right side intended for Phillips. Young back to Shiny. This pass will find Phillips, able to head it back towards the middle of the field, but cleared out by Johnny Clifford. Clifford again called into action, only able to stab it right to Austin Shiny. An important intervention there from the Benedictine defense. Baker will have a corner at the northeast side of the field. Just under 19 minutes to play first half. No score between the Wildcats and the Ravens in the HAAC league opener for the two schools. So far, 4 shots for Baker, 3 of them on target. 3 and 2 in each respective category coming from Shiny. Preston Phillips also had an effort on target. 1 shot that was off target came from Guillermo Gomes. That free kick just sneaking past Riggle out of bounds. And right now, referee calling time for an injured player. Looks to be one of the Baker attackers, and it is Amir Didic, and that is the last player, if you're a Baker fan, you want to see lying in agony on the pitch. He is helped to his feet, but if Didic has to come out, as the referee has stopped the clock at 18:04, that's going to be a huge disadvantage for Baker going forward. Even if it's just for the rest of this first half, that could be a huge difference going towards who wins this game.
Yeah, because Baker, they've struggled to score goals the way that they would like, and Didic has had a team leading 8th. The next closest player's only got 3, so it would become a much bigger team effort, but obviously you'd like to keep Didic out there if at all possible.
Well, the junior from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, I believe I have not seen him deliberately walk off the field just yet. And no, he is able to continue, so that is a huge boost to both the Baker defense and offense, as he plays such a vital role in both of those aspects of the game. Chip ball forward for Levine. Important header there from Frankie Washington to break up the attack. And Baker will reset with this attacking throw-in. Andrew Miller wants to take a long throw-in. Will do so with about 17:20 and counting first half. Headed inside the box, cleared out by Gomes. Only as far as Sansano heads it back in towards the 18-yard box. And clear back out again. And a missed kick clearance first time from Sansano, and that would have been important had Fabio Priori been able to get pressure. Now here's Gomes, cross into the box. Out comes Riggle to punch it out of the 18-yard box. So Benedictine almost able to catch Baker flat-footed on a counterattack, and the Ravens will reset with an attacking throw-in.
It wasn't the most confident clearance by Riggle that you'll ever see, but ultimately he did his job. He was able to clear the ball away from the attacker, because if he had not got a punch to that, it would have been a free head ball right on target.
Sean Latz will take this throw in. Where's number 5, the senior from Overland Park, Kansas. And this throw in will reach inside the box, headed back out only as far as Priori. Now Gomes dancing right along the goal line. Deflected, last touch by Baker, and Benedictine have been awarded a corner kick. And the first substitution of the match will come in the 30th minute shortly soon, as Priori's corner headed back out to the senior. Baker awarded a throw-in, and for the first time tonight, we will see Andres Cooper, the freshman from Olathe, Kansas. He will replace Preston Phillips. So that's actually the second substitution made by Baker this evening. The first was out of necessity for an injury. This is the first change made out of strategic purposes. Here's Robert O'Keefe. Out of bounds. Looked like it happened last touch by Cooper. Philip Teese does award throw in to Benedictine. Hoven back towards the center midfield towards Shiny. Long ball intended for Levine, cleared out by Benedictine. Now Miller. Sansano had been taken down. Could have potentially won a foul for Baker had the ball not fallen right to a teammate. Miller to take the throw in. Wants to take a long throw in. Will get inside the box. Headed down. Just cleared outside of the 6 yards. And almost fell right to a golden opportunity for Hoven, who mistimed his shot. Ball sped right past him. Back to Sansano. And now Sansano, incredulous. Baker is awarded the free kick in the 32nd minute. And it will be Amir Didic to take.
Got to be a little careful in that situation. You were given the free kick, but you continue to complain afterwards. Officials don't tend to like that.
It is Shiny to deliver. Out comes Vintage. Collects from 6 yards out. Takes a quick throw out to Gomes, who has plenty of space down the near side to bring the ball across midfield. But quick adjustment by Cooper. But Gomes spinning in around 3 different defenders. And the through ball was just too far for Parker Malott to keep pace with. Otherwise, Nick Riggle would have been in a lot of trouble. Instead, he collects and will clear with 12:46 and counting first half.
And I think he'd like to have that through ball back because he played it with his weaker foot, didn't get the angle that he wanted on it. He had a man open on the right wing, instead tried to play it a little too directly through and ended up being safely contained by the keeper.
But going back out to the collection from Vintage, that was such an alert play to find Gomes open down that near wing with plenty of space, at the very least, to bring the ball across midfield, then able to split his way in between 3 Wildcat defenders who were still running the momentum, just trying to catch up with him. Then he's able to maneuver in around as they stop, catch their momentum back, and try to adjust their positioning. Just couldn't pay off. The through ball, a bit too eager, is what you would say, because of the extra power that he added to it. Throw into Benedictine inside the final 12 minutes of the first half. Here's Washington. Almost got too cute and turned the ball over, finding a teammate to reset. Awkward clearance by Miller. He will reach the ball ahead of Ryan Dickerson and send the clearance out of bounds. Caught in the air by Rob Herringer, who we should note has now donned a black winter coat. He was dressed initially in the black suit coat and pants. Now he's seeing the weather starting to go down a bit. Of course, we are in the black of night. As a long-range shot deflected, just headed out of bounds and out for a Baker goal kick.
It was a good chance right there, and didn't get quite the angle on it that he would have liked. And some of the fans, and definitely here on the near side, didn't have the angle on that, and it ended up bouncing safely wide. But still, you get an opportunity on goal, you might as well take it right there.
That was Priori with the effort, and Wriggles clearance. Again, sent back forward to the Benedictine bench and out of bounds. Hauser will look to bring on Keaton Anchors at the next stoppage in play. Shiny towards Levine. Clifford got a header towards Washington. Baker sideline wanted the free kick. And now a hard challenge. We're going to see a red card. 35th minute red card shown to Robert Hoven. And Baker will now have to play the remainder of this match, which is a good 50 or so minutes, without Robert Hoven.
And what a game changer that could turn out to be right there. A straight red. Not really sure what the referee saw. I mean, it was definitely some dangerous play going on between both teams and a lot of yelling and screaming as well. But obviously now Baker is going to be a man down in an all-important conference matchup.
Well, Nick Hauser still arguing with referee Philip Teese. You see the two men discussing as clock is stopped at 10:05 to play in the first half. Again, Robert Hoven, the junior from Olathe, Kansas, sent off on a straight red card in the 35th minute, and we still have roughly an hour to go. And for those of you in college soccer, they don't play just to a tie after 90 minutes. They will play extra time if necessary. That means Baker could be looking at over an hour of game time without a key midfielder, as Hoven has been influential this first part of the first half.
And as you mentioned, key is the key word, because the midfield has been one of the strengths so far for Baker, and they've managed to thread those passes through the midfield. Now, obviously, depends on what you want to do with your formation. Do you try to go one less forward up top and keep the midfield the way that you want in terms of numbers, or do you just go one less man in the midfield? These are the questions that Baker's going to have to answer now.
Well, Baker has made their substitution, bringing on Keaton Anchors in place of Preston Phillips, while Benedictine has also made their first change of the game in the 35th minute, as the ball was last touched by Cooper. Smart play there by Robert O'Keefe to deflect the ball out of bounds and allow Vintage to take this ensuing goal kick. New player in the game for Benedictine is number 6, Adam James, the freshman from Kearney, Missouri. So he was the player who was the late scratch in the starting 11, but apparently it's not because of an injury reason. James simply just being given the bench role for strategic purposes, but now he is brought on in all likelihood to find what could be a famous first goal in the final 10 minutes. As an awkward header from Clifford, Vintage had to scramble under pressure from Levine just to get back to the ball. But again, Benedictine will now play the remainder of this game, which at minimum is about 55 minutes, with a one-man advantage. A red card shown in the 35th minute to Robert Hoven.
Ravens need to be careful, though, in the midfield. They don't want to give too many balls away for sure. because as the situation sets up, we've seen it in the Premier League several times as well. Some teams, they get a man up, they get a little too cocky, a little too full of themselves, thinking they're going to be able to do nothing but press forward, and they get caught on a counterattack. So they need to be solid along the back line and through the midfield, stick to the game plan there.
Spencer Atkin bring the ball to midfield for Baker. Quick turnover back to the Ravens, as we can report that it was a minor injury suffered by James in warm-up. That's why he was not in the starting 11, but he was given the okay by the medical staff to play, period. So that's why we see him brought on with that 35th minute substitution. Throw into Baker awarded in the 38th minute. Well, Nick Hauser already figured he was in for a tough road contest. You can only imagine what he's thinking right now, that he'll have to endure more than half of this match playing a man down after a key midfielder in Robert Hoven was sent off just minutes ago. Only 2 cards shown by Philip Teese, the red to Hoven, and then back in the 22nd minute, a yellow to Matt Ham. Those have been the only disciplinary actions taken by tonight's refereeing crew. Shiny towards Cooper, right on the edge of the 18-yard box. Cooper tried to tap that pass back to Andrew Miller, but was unable to get a whole lot of control on that pass. Sends it out of bounds. Vintage again will take the goal kick. And Vintage, he has been fairly active. He has saved, or he has been involved with 4 shots on target from the Wildcats, but so far keeping a clean sheet through nearly 40 minutes of play.
Yes, defense has done a pretty good job in front of him overall. Obviously, goalkeepers could find anything wrong with the defense if they really tried. Any shot that gets through could have been stopped one way or the other, but all the chances so far have been kept from distance.
Gomes, Priori will reset back to O'Keefe. O'Keefe one-on-one with Levine. Maintaining possession, now losing out to Shiny. Getting it back is Washington for the Ravens. Chipping it forward, a one-time header, the flag was up. The goal would not have counted, but an expert save made by Nick Riggle just to make sure the clean sheet stays intact. As you see, clearly getting behind the last defender, and now Baker with a chance to come back on a counterattack at the other end. Levine, ball tackled away from behind. Sent back to Priori. Gomes on the wing, right in front of the Baker bench. Gets around Shiny. And almost split his way in between Shiny and Cooper. Sansano stabs it towards Shiny, but turned over to Washington. We are now inside the final 5 minutes of the first half. Still no score between Baker and Benedictine. Baker have had the majority of shots so far, but Benedictine almost had an opportunity that had the offside flag stayed down. They would have had a real shot, the Ravens would have, at opening the scoring.
Now in Benedictine right now, you got to start taking advantage of these chances that you're given in the offensive end. Give it a good position on a free kick here. Obviously, you can't get too much of a shot off from the angle that they're given, but essentially what amounts to a corner kick, you got to start getting towards the net.
It's Fabio Priori, the senior from Brazil, driven low straight at Nick Riggle, who takes the catch on 2 hops. Long ball sent forward. Poke towards Cooper. Now Miller running forward. Clean tackle from behind from Guillermo Gomes. That's an expert play by a senior. Not so expert of a play to turn it back over to Baker. Cooper tried to chip one forward for Levine. Deflected by O'Keefe. Now James. Gomes Trying to set up Priori, got the touch to create space inside the 18-yard box, and a save from point-blank range by Riggle.
Confident goalkeeping right there. Riggle coming off of his line. Sure, right from the moment that he left, that he was going to get at least a piece of that ball. He knew that he was going to get it blasted into him once you get the wind up on the shot, but he came out and managed to make a big-time save, as he's done here a couple times within the last few minutes.
You could see on the replay the shot was on target. That is the second effort on target from the Ravens this evening. Just short of 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Here's Priori, one-on-one with Miller. Left-footed cross, reaches inside the box, looking for Gomes. And laid off for a one-time shot, driven low, deflected, and out for a Benedictine corner in the 43rd minute.
And now we start to see the Ravens put their advantage forth in this contest. They've got a man up due to that red card that happened earlier in the contest, and now you're starting to see the numbers catch up just a little bit.
Priori will deliver with the left foot, and it will come with less than 2.5 minutes remaining in the first half, but a whistle blown for a foul right as Priori took the corner, and it was for a foul for improper contact inside the box. Riggle will take the ensuing free kick. So Baker right now weathering the storm, but as you were saying, Todd?
But corner kicks are always contentious like that, but you can't waste chances like that. You have to try to keep your arms down as much as possible, because the way Baker has played so far, you have to take advantage of those kind of opportunities.
Milot lays off for Gomes. Washington tried to find Milot inside the box, poked away by Baker back towards midfield, and the Ravens will reset back to Clifford. O'Keefe able to get around Cooper. O'Keefe continuing a run. Now Priori, surrounded by three different Ravens, tried to poke it back to O'Keefe, but smart play by Shiny, and now his pass poked away by Clifford. Inside the final minute of the first half. No score so far. Again, we will be counting down from 45 to start the second half, and if we're still tied after 90 minutes, we will have two 10-minute sessions of golden goal extra time. We did have a string of several games in a row that did require the extra time. One with the game-winning goal coming 90 seconds into the first period, the other coming with about 90 seconds remaining in the second period. Baker looking for a critical opening goal, but a long-range effort taken by Fabio Priori. He knows he wants that effort back. It was always swerving away from the far post. And Riggle will let the final 10 seconds wind down. Right now, though, Sansano on the ground. But Philip Teese will allow the clock to run out, and we have come to the end of the first half. A very eventful opening 45 minutes here at the BC Soccer Complex, highlighted by the 35th minute red card shown to Robert Hoven, meaning Baker will play the entire second half with at least no more than 10 men. But so far, the Ravens have not been able to find the back of the net. Same for the Wildcats. We have reached halftime in Atchison, Kansas. Benedictine 0, Baker 0.
NSCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Always nice to see who you wander across in the hallways might have a quick word with.
So I think it's exciting to meet youth coaches and high school coaches and even college coaches who are all really passionate about the sport.
It's a learning experience. I think it's invaluable both from a coach standpoint and from an administrative standpoint.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. No matter where you are in your coaching path, we have something for you. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
Halftime here at the BC Soccer Complex in Atchison, Kansas, and we are no better than when we started in this NSCAA NAIA Game of the Week between Baker and Benedictine. The Ravens and the Wildcats are scoreless after the opening 45 minutes. Let's take a look at the standings first for the NAIA men. In first place, Thomas, Georgia, after Lindsey Wilson lost a couple of critical games last week. They dropped from 1 down to 9. Ashford, the team that ended Baker's season in the NAIA round of 16 last year, they jump up 2 spots into the top 10. Rio Grande in 5th, Oklahoma Wesleyan in 6th. Georgia Gwinnett, we were in Lawrenceville just a couple weeks ago. They maintain a spot in the top 10 with a 6-1-1 record at number 8. Defending national runner-up Auburn Montgomery moves up 1 spot from 5th into 4th. Taking a look at the NCAA Men's Division I rankings, UCLA, not quite the week that the Bruins have wanted so far this 2014 season. They go down a spot to 2nd, while Notre Dame jumps up 2 spots into the 3 slot. The actual number 2 seed drops out of the top 10, as you see there. UC Irvine coming up into 3rd. UNC Charlotte breaking into the top 10, rising 11 spots, as does Syracuse, rising 9 spots from 18th into the 9th spot. Taking a look at NCAA Division II, we saw Quincy University last night. They eked out a tough 1-0 win at Rockhurst, so they are now 10-0 on the season, as a matter of fact. Southern New Hampshire maintaining their spot at the top of the NCAA Men's Division II rankings. They, of course, are the defending national champion. University of Charleston, we opened our small college game of the week series in Charleston. They have risen up to 2nd place. And to look at the NCAA Division III rankings, Messiah College, the defending national champion, still perfect, still undefeated, untied there at 1st. And Kenyon College keeping their spot in 2nd. Trinity, Texas rising up a spot to 3rd, and same for Brandeis up to 4th, as SUNY Oneonta drops down 2 spots to 5th. Emory, Luther, Franklin and Marshall, Whitworth, and a school we visited at the very beginning of this small college game of the week series, Wheaton, Illinois, they rise up 4 spots back into the top 10. Well, halftime just about over here in Atchison, Kansas, ready to start the second half. For those of you who do the college soccer, clock counts down from 45 with stoppages for goals, injuries, and major fouls, usually the kind that result in cards, and we have seen 2 cards tonight from our referee, Philip Teese. A yellow in the 22nd minute to Matt Ham, and a red card, straight red card, to Robert Hoven in the 35th minute. And Tom Panula, we just found out the reasoning. It was not exactly the reason we were expecting to see.
No, we thought that something had happened maybe before the foul that was committed, that ultimately the free kick happened on it. It ended up just being language, and some of the people up here in the press box were wondering what exactly could have been said that would have drawn a straight red card. But you have to figure at least 1, if not 2 or 3 of the 7 words you're not allowed to say on television must have been uttered to the head official.
Well, Hoven was sent off with about 10 minutes remaining in the first half, meaning Baker were able to weather that storm, playing a man down. Now they have to go an entire second half without a full field of 11 players, as the Wildcats in dark blue going right to left across your screen in white trim. Benedictine in red with white trim and black numbers going left to right, or if you're interested in the geographic direction, they are going south to north. Free kick awarded to the Ravens, who had a lot more opportunities in the final few minutes of the first half than they did in the opening stage. And it was largely through that man right there who's about to take the free kick, Fabio Priori. He had 2 shots on target in the first half. His left-footed free kick taken low, does reach inside the box. Backheel pass now out to Kenneth Clarizio, and Benedictine have found the back of the net against all the odds. Clarizio, the senior from Denver, able to direct the shot past Nick Riggle. The backheel pass set up the midfielder perfectly. And from just outside the box, Riggle completely dumbfounded on the line, and the Ravens have struck first.
And that's one that Riggle's going to want to have back right there. He was caught cheating a little bit towards the middle of the goal, thought it was for sure going to be a cross, and wisely the striker took a rip at goal. He saw that he had a good chunk of space available here on the near side post, managed to stick a little bit of a swinger in towards that near side post, and as I said, Riggle, he's going to kick himself for that one because he should have had that covered. Instead, he decided to cheat a little bit, and he got caught.
Well, those of you watching tonight who are international soccer historians, you might remember the 2010 World Cup in South Africa where the Brazilian defender Maicon was able to squeeze a ball just behind the North Korean goalkeeper for Brazil's first goal in that opening group match down in South Africa. A very similar effort from Clarizio. It wasn't driven as low as Maicon's effort, but it still caught out the goalkeeper nonetheless. And Benedictine off to a rapid-fire start here in the first half, and the Ravens looking to add to that. That was a little bit too ambitious from Clarizio. He was looking to get his second goal in as many minutes.
And I think that's one of those situations where you're so amped up, you just managed to score a goal. You're looking for more. You want to test the goalkeeper, see if his confidence has improved at all after making that huge mistake to lead to the goal. But as you say, a little bit too ambitious.
Benedictine wanted the handball called on Spencer Atkin. Philip Teese awards a free kick, and again, another free kick in attacking territory, and Priori will take this from just about the same spot. Actually, he'll now concede to Clarizio, but this was about the same spot where Priori's free kick that eventually led to Clarizio's goal was taken from. 49th minute now, 1-0 Benedictine leads as Riggle lost possession of the ball, cleared out, and we have an injured Wildcat inside the penalty box. Make that 2 injured Wildcats. Throw-in awarded to Benedictine. And now Philip Teese has called for a stoppage of play. And Teese right now consulting with his assistant referee on the far side, Caleb Perry. He did not need a consultation with assistant Robert Walters back in the 35th minute when he made the decision to give a straight red card to Robert Hoven. But right now, Teese going to his pocket and will show a yellow card to Fabio Priori. So that's the first booking of the game to Benedictine. Comes in the 49th minute. So just getting a little heated here in Atchison, Kansas. You have to figure it's making up for the rather colder temperature. We have been in the 40s throughout the game, especially since the sunset, which was just before kickoff tonight.
Yeah, you see cold temperatures. Sometimes that sting you get when you get whacked with the ball a little bit gets the tempers to flare a little bit, trying to, as you say, make up for the temperature difference. But right now they just need to simmer it down a little bit, get it under to control, especially if you're Benedictine. You're already up by a goal. You don't want to give the official any excuse to take a man away from the Ravens.
So Priori booked in the 49th minute. Second yellow card of the game, first to Benedictine, first card period to the Ravens after the straight red shown to Hoven. And right now, BC with an 11-on-10 advantage. Free kick awarded to the Wildcats, and you know who's going to take it for Baker. It's going to be Austin Shiney. He came close in the first half, 4 shots overall in the opening 45 minutes, 3 on target. Vintage called into action to punch that outside the 18-yard box. Cleared away in a long-range effort after an initial deflection from Clifford, and Baker awarded the corner kick. So a chance for an early response here.
Good solid keeping, though, from Vintage as he came out confidently, got 2 fists right to it, punched it a good 20 yards away from net, managed to get it away from goal, and a long chance there leads to a corner kick.
Teese calling for a stoppage in play, making sure players in the box behaving themselves. We've had a couple corner kicks where Teese awarded free kicks immediately after the taking, but Shiney's cross Headed inside the box, jumps Vintage to claim the ball on the line. And an inadvertent collision there with Preston Phillips. No malicious intent there. Nice to see sportsmanship from the two schools. But a quick turnover by the Wildcats. Tried to send it towards Phillips, who was wide open with space in the middle of the field. Now Washington for the Ravens.
And again, we kind of see some tempers flaring and fouls going back and forth. Both teams just kind of need to, as I said before, calm it down a little bit. We've seen a lot of sweep tackles, a lot of chippiness from behind, a lot of shirt tugging going on, especially in the opening moments of the contest. And especially if you're Baker, you can't afford to lose another man.
Yeah, Baker did have 7 first-half fouls to Benedictine 6. We've already seen quite a few in the second half, but here's Parker Malott maintaining possession after an initial deflection from Kyle Young. Now resets back to Clorizio, lone goal scorer. Just a minute and a half into the second period. The senior from Denver, Colorado. That is his very first goal of the 2014 campaign, and it's a timely one in this conference opener. Washington wanted to feed that toward Gomes out on the wing under pressure from Miller. And Gomes earns an attacking throw-in for Benedictine. Coming up next on our Small College Game of the Week series, we will come to you next on Tuesday night from Wilmore, Kentucky, just south of Lexington, when Asbury hosts Brescia in an NCAA Division III encounter. Then on Wednesday, October 8th, it's back to the NAIA for Taylor and Indiana Wesleyan from Marion, Indiana. Those are our next two games right here on the NSCAA Game of the Week series presented by Turbo Sports. Back here now in the 53rd minute. 1-0 Benedictine on a 47th minute goal from Kenneth Clorizio. That was his first shot on target, his second shot of the match. He has been very active on an attacking end, coming forward from his right back slot. Down goes a Raven midfielder. It looked to be Robert O'Keefe. Free kick awarded to the Ravens. Been a busy night for referee Philip Teese.
He's earning his paycheck here tonight, giving out a few cards, 2 yellows and a red, and a lot of chippiness between these two teams. He's had a tough job to try to keep things under control.
Well, these two teams did meet in the Heart of America Athletic Conference tournament semifinals in 2013. Baker did win that match in the semifinals, but it was not the end of the season for Benedictine. They did make the NAIA National Championship Tournament as an at-large bid, making the round of 16 before losing on penalty kicks to Auburn Montgomery, who would eventually go on to make the National Championship game before losing to Martin Methodist.
Yeah, Auburn Montgomery pretty much the darlings of that tournament. A couple last-second victories, one literally with zeros up on the clock. The goal went in with about 0.1 seconds left.
Sure didn't hurt that the tournament last year was in Montgomery, Alabama, either.
A little bit of home cooking, maybe.
Malott plays back to Clorizio. Now Malott on the wing. Good sliding challenge by Atkin to win the ball back for Baker. And an errant touch from Blake Levine. The ball rolls out of bounds for another Benedictine throw-in. Here's Adam James, the co-leading scorer for the Ravens in 2014. Did not start because of a warm-up injury. The Ravens have earned a corner kick now. Again, Baker coming into this game having won their last 4 games after a dismal start to the season. They were 0-4-1 after 5 games, but they have come back with a vengeance in the last part of September. And they will be next in action on Tuesday night when they travel to Oklahoma Wesleyan. They won't have quite the break that Benedictine will have. Ravens are next in action next Saturday night when they travel to Missouri Valley, and the Ravens awarded the free kick here in the 56th minute. Both teams ranked in the preseason in the top 15 of the NAIA coaches poll. Baker was receiving votes in the latest poll released on Tuesday. They are now 34th as voted by the coaches. They were originally 8th in the preseason. Benedictine was not receiving any votes in the most recent NAIA coaches poll. They were number 13 in the preseason. It's Guillermo Gomes. Another free kick sailing wide of the goal. Rigo looked to have the angle covered and will now take the goal kick in the 57th minute. And Rob Herringer will make a double substitution following that goal kick. We will see the introduction of Michael Morano, a freshman from Phoenix, Arizona, wears number 9, and number 18, Galen Gossman, a sophomore from Overland Park, Kansas. Actually, those are the players for Benedictine. Baker was the team making the substitutions. Keaton Ankers and Jordan Thacker return for the Wildcats. Both appeared earlier in the first half. Brought on both as attackers. Ankers more as a center forward. Thacker deployed on the left wing. Attacking throw and awarded to the Wildcats in the 58th minute. Herringer hasn't made a whole lot of substitutions throughout this match as clock stops at the 32-21 mark for an injured Wildcat. Herringer has been, for the most part, very happy to let his starting 11 play the game out and look for a win on their own.
Yeah, I think they came out with a solid game plan to open up the game with. They didn't get as much possession as they would necessarily like, but nothing officially went wrong, as now it looks like we're going to have a bit of an injury timeout over on the far side. But as you said, Coach Herringer likes what he's seen from his starting 11. They're up 1-0 so far through this contest, and if you get yourself in that kind of position and nobody's overly tired, nobody making too many mistakes out on the pitch as well, why not stick with it?
Yeah, Andrew Miller is the injured player who is now requiring treatment on site from the medical staff, which means he will have to come off and be replaced here in the 58th minute, as you see Philip Teese and Caleb Perry in that picture. Been quite a night for the referees. Again, 3 cards shown, 2 yellows, 1 straight red, shown to Robert Hoven back in the 35th minute. The reason, language. As Nick Hauser, the 7th-year head coach for Baker, issuing instructions to his players who are using this time to get some water. And now Hauser talking with the referee. He was very animated in his discussion with Teese following the red card shown late in the first half. And Benedictine, for the most part, has taken advantage of it. They were a little tentative in the first part of the first half, but after they got that man advantage, they had a lot of comfortability going forward. And, of course, it paid off just seconds into the second half.
Yeah, it was a situation where immediately after going a man up, they did allow a few counterattacks, and that was when I kind of mentioned the fact that they couldn't get too full of themselves, needed to stay behind the ball, take care of your own business, then attack. They came out very well in the second half, did exactly that, managed to strike, catch the goalkeeper napping a little bit, cheating off of his post, and slide one in the near side post, and that's where we stand, 1-0 here with the action getting ready to resume.
Well, Baker will be looking to send on Andrew Poindexter, a junior from Raymore, Missouri, in place of Miller, who's the way he's acting and the way the medical staff is tending to him, it looks like for all intents and purposes his night might be done with still over half an hour to play. And Miller, that would be a big loss for Baker because he's been very influential down that right wing, creating opportunities for the Wildcats back in the first half. He was still present even after the red card and the sending off of Hoven and Baker being reduced to 10 men.
Yeah, it's been a pretty disappointing night overall for Baker. I think their head coach, Nate Hauser, is going to be disappointed with the composure of some of his players. Obviously, you can't do anything about an injury, but it's just been kind of a night fraught with mistakes and bad decisions overall. And they only find themselves a goal down. They could still manage to come back, but they've put themselves really kind of behind things right now.
Thacker's throw-in reaches inside the box, cleared out by Benedictine as we are back underway now with just over half an hour remaining in regulation time, as Poindexter getting his first action with the ball. Throw-in awarded to the Ravens will be Clarizio. James deflected the attempted clearance out of bounds, keeping the ball in play towards Gomes. Now out to Clarizio. Initially got around Poindexter, will not get around Dedic, who is able to shield the Benedictine right back away from the ball. And now you hear the crowd chanting BC Raven. It's been a hearty crowd here, and for the most part, a very happy crowd as well.
Yeah, they've been treated to a good soccer match overall. Obviously, the home fans very excited that they find themselves up, but a good soccer game here on family weekend overall.
Yeah, this is sporting event 3 of 3 on this Saturday, October 4th. Benedictine football getting a 16-6 win over Evangel this afternoon. And then immediately before this contest, Benedictine women's soccer easily got past Baker's Lady Wildcats by a final score of 3-0. Right now, Benedictine men's soccer 30 minutes and change away from making it a perfect 3 for 3 on this family weekend sports Saturday. This is Benedictine's third to last home game of the season as a cross into the box. One-time effort from Keaton Ankers and a fine save made by Vintage as the deflected shot rolls out of bounds. As yes, Vintage did get a touch on it. Very nearly, Baker found an equalizer. An hour played.
Nothing but defensive reaction right there, and all credit goes to Vintage for making the save, but the fact that that came from so close in, to get a fingertip on that at all is just a miraculous stop right there for the Benedictine keeper.
As I was mentioning before that most recent attack, this is Benedictine's third to last home game of the season. They only have 2 more matches at BC Soccer Complex. October 5th against Avila University. That will be senior night. And then 2 weeks from tonight, October 18th, that will be Benedictine's homecoming when the Ravens host Central Methodist University. Both of those, as this game, are also HAAC in-conference matchups. Benedictine with a record of 4-4-1. They already have as many losses in 9 games this year as they had all of last season. Long throw inside the box. Now sent back in, collected by Vintage outside the 6-yard box. We always wonder what the coaches say at halftime during the team talks. Rob Herringer did have the comfort of being able to take his team inside the locker room here at the BC Soccer Complex as out comes Riggle to deny what would have been a beautiful chip over him that would have put the Ravens up 2-0. Instead, the scoreline remains 1-0.
And I think right there you see a little bit of the question, especially keepers have, when you play on this artificial surface, because you're never quite sure how far you're going to slide. And Riggle right there should, by all rights, have managed to smother that one. Instead, he had to let it go because he had to mostly slide tackle that one because he was afraid a little bit that he was going to end up sliding over the edge of the box.
Well, taking a look at the turf this morning, or rather this afternoon and evening, it looked very firm. Most of our games we've covered during the series have been on artificial surfaces. Some good, some worn. But this looks to be in good condition for the two teams playing right now in the 63rd minute. Cross into the box, and it falls right. A near opportunity for Baker. And boy, would Jordan Thacker like to have another opportunity.
You've got to put that away. If you're Baker, you find yourself down by a man, down by a goal. You get an open opportunity like that. Yes, he did have a defender closing in on his back, but by all rights, it should be even up right now.
So Jordan Thacker, the substitute, got in front of Clarizio and got a touch to the ball, but couldn't direct it on target past Vintage. And Benedictine, you talk about dodging a huge bullet, especially coming up on the midway point of the second half. And now here's James getting around Poindexter, now goes down from behind. Teese does not give a free kick. And now we may have another injured Wildcat. Looks to be Keaton Ankers, as actually it's Amir Didic, the leading scorer for Baker.
Still a little bit amazed that that foul was not given. I could almost understand the main official not seeing it. Maybe he didn't have the angle, but the AR here on the near side was in perfect view to see that he was pretty much hauled down from behind. No call given, and now we see, hopefully it's just a cramping situation. There was another Baker upfield player that was stretching out his calves, and perhaps just an ankle or something getting caught inside the turf.
Yes, that player who was stretching out his calves was Austin Shiney, who was walked over to the Baker bench under his own power while Didic still being tended to. And we mentioned in the first half, because he was down injured but was able to continue, how key it is that Didic continues to play, because he is the leading scorer for the Wildcats offense. Despite being a center back, he does have 8 goals in 9 games in 2014.
And they can ill afford to lose him right now. And I think that last opportunity for Baker is a prime example of why they need him on the pitch, because they're just so young up front. Thacker, only a sophomore, glorious opportunity that he was not able to finish. And oftentimes you'll find that with young teams. They manage to show the skill throughout the midfield, even forming the attack, but they just can't get that final ball in the net.
Well, it looks like Didic might have to be taken off. Yes, he is being walked over to the bench, so that will be a huge loss for both Baker's offense and defense. Andres Cooper will return to bring a little bit more energy for the Wildcats, while Austin Shiney, the player who we mentioned earlier, was cramping towards the middle of the field. He still stays on the pitch in the 64th minute.
And that's a big blow for Baker, because looking down at the trainer's table, they're performing some sort of eye test, and I would almost have to wonder if that's some sort of head injury, and you can't play around with those. So you obviously hope that Didic can return, but not looking bright right now for the Wildcats.
Throwing from Poindexter, turned over back to Priori. Now Shiney and Didic. He got off the trainer's bench, wanted to head right to midfield as if he wanted to come on as a substitute. Nick Hauser says, not so fast, young man. And in the meantime, Baker awarded the free kick. And now it looks like Hauser will send Didic back on as soon as possible. It won't be before this Shiney free kick. I should clarify, Shiney is the name of the player.
Right.
Spells his name S-H-I-N-E-Y. that extra vowel as across. Out came Vintage, cleared out of the 6-yard box. Towards Gomes now. Didic still looking to recover, appearing that he's still recovering in a way.
First mistake we've seen really made by Vintage all night, and a lot of people see there and watch on TV, and they think, okay, when the goalkeeper comes out, he needs to get a hand on it. It's more difficult than that, but if you are going to challenge for that ball, you have to find a way to at least get a piece of it.
1-0. Benedictine leads Baker in this Heart of America Athletic Conference League opener. Both teams coming into this game with 4-4-1 records. Baker have won their last 4 games. And in that win streak, they have averaged just under 3 goals a game. But the lone goal coming in the 47th minute from Kenneth Clarizio, who was able to catch Nick Riggle off guard, slide it in between him and the near post from the right wing from just outside the penalty box. That is the lone goal of the match. And again, Baker, having played with only 10 men since the 35th minute when Robert Hoven was shown a straight red card for language. And according to our sources that we spoke with at halftime, that means he will miss the next 2 matches because it was a straight red card.
Yeah, not only does he miss the rest of this all-important match, but he puts his team in a precarious position as they had a good win streak going. Now all of a sudden they're without one of their important midfielders, and unfortunately that's something he has done in the past, and he's going to need to start cleaning up as even more important games approaching at the end of the season.
Yeah, Baker's next match is also on the road this Tuesday at Oklahoma Wesleyan, a team that you saw in our halftime graphic is ranked in the top 10 of the NAIA coaches poll. Sent long down the far wing by Benedictine. Deflected, sent back toward the middle of the field by Baker. Clarizio. James, one of the 2 leading scorers on the team for Benedictine, did not start the game because of an injury suffered during pre-match warm-ups. Now a throw-in awarded to Benedictine, and good news for Wildcat fans, we are seeing the return of Amir Didic in the 68th minute. He will replace Andrew Poindexter.
And just as we see the good news come back for Baker, it's bad news now for Benedictine as James has to take a seat. He took a tough spill there and may have re-aggravated whatever was wrong with him prior to the match.
And his fellow co-leading scorer, Ryan Dickerson, has come on to replace James. Both of them freshmen. James from Kearney, Missouri. Dickerson from Overland Park, Kansas. And Dickerson, first touch since coming back on. Tried to send an overhead pass for Washington. Here's Malott. Back to Washington. Priori lost that ball behind to Atkin. Here is Didic. Intercepted by Benedictine. Trying to get around Atkin is Clarizio. Finding Priori. One touch from Dickerson. Wasn't quite on the same communication level as Parker Malott, who tried to one-touch pass back to the Benedictine forward. And another long cross sent back to the left wing. So we have just over 20 minutes to play in regulation time. Benedictine trailing 1-0. At what point would you say, Todd, that the Ravens will want to enhance a defensive priority strategy where you simply just hold on to the ball and clearing it anywhere will do.
I think once you get down to the last 10 minutes or so, that's what you want to do. Is we see an attacking play here, smothered out by the keeper nicely. But you don't want to get into that too early, because all of a sudden you put yourself in bad habits. You don't necessarily make the passes that you normally would. You're too worried about preserving that lead instead of playing your own game. So you want to wait a little while longer before you start getting into that kind of mindset, especially the fact that Benedictine is up by a man already. That kind of takes off a little bit of the pressure.
Well, the good news for Benedictine fans watching tonight's broadcast, there's only one instance I can think of where the team that scored first ended up losing. That was when Bellarmine struck first in their Division II match against Ohio Dominican, but the Panthers took a 2-1 lead themselves in the second half, conceded a game-tying penalty kick, but then won in overtime. But as far as my recollection goes, that's the only instance where the team that scored first has lost. So as far as our broadcasts have told us, scoring first usually helps. We have had a couple 1-0 decisions throughout this series, and we are potentially 19 minutes away from another 1-0 result. A long cross into the box. Out comes Riggle to collect inside. And he collects. Actually, now I'm remembering a second time that a team that scored first had lost. That was our last NAIA match featuring Hastings and Kansas Wesleyan. The Broncos did score first. They were the home team. But then Kansas Wesleyan equalized, took a 2-1 lead. Broncos did equalize on a penalty to make it 2-2. But the final 15 minutes, it was all Kansas Wesleyan scoring 3 unanswered goals to get out of Hastings with a huge 5-2 road win against a team that at the time was ranked in the NAIA coaches' top 10. And we are nearing that final 15-minute mark, which was about the same time that Kansas Wesleyan took the lead for good and never looked back, as Hauser issuing instructions to 2 substitutes who are about to come on shortly. One of them, Preston Phillips, who did start the game. The other, who is now making his way on the field, number 15, Cody Sliva, a sophomore from Shawnee, Kansas.
Substitution for the Wildcats into the game, number 12, Preston Phillips, and number 15, Cody Sliver.
Andres Cooper and Jordan Thacker, the players to make way for Phillips and Sliva. Here's Brian Johnson, who has had a solid performance for the most part in defensive midfield tonight for the Ravens. Now a long ball down the wing. Unable to keep it in play, and Riggle will take the ensuing Baker goal kick.
But again, a good situation right there for Benedictine. Obviously, you get up the goal kick, but time off the clock. It's any kind of retrieval on any kind of ball like that takes precious seconds away from Baker.
Cross into the box. And Malott unable to control that cross inside. Couldn't get as clean a header as he wanted, but by the time Riggle takes this goal kick, we will be inside the final 16 minutes of regulation time.
Yeah, I think it was a situation where the defender kind of threw him off a little bit. The defender jumped right in front of him. I don't know that he expected the ball to actually get through, so he couldn't get a flick onto the ball. It actually just kind of deflected off of his head.
And we welcome those of you watching the NSCAA Game of the Week as Dickerson tried to feed a pass inside. Out comes Riggle, who smartly claims the ball from about 16 yards out from the goal line. And will again reset for the Wildcats. Actually rolls it out to Sansano. Just past 10:15 p.m. in the East on this Saturday night. That would be about 9:17 p.m. local time here in Atchison, Kansas. Just across the river from Missouri. Malott, long ball down the middle of the field for Gomes. A one-time shot on the left foot. And an uncertain collection initially from Riggle, but he's able to maintain control and send it out. That effort was clearly on target, very nearly a second goal in the second half for the Ravens.
Not too troubling for the keeper right there. He just kind of took a big swing at it with the left foot and managed to get solid contact on it. Don't think he put it right where he wanted, but still a good chance on goal.
Well, Benedictine with them on target. That's 7 on goal. 8 fouls from Benedictine, 7 from Baker. And again, only 3 cards all game long. 2 to Baker, a yellow to Matt Ham in the 22nd minute. He was booked for a hard collision, one which he suffered an injury from himself, was substituted out and has not returned since then. And a straight red card shown to Robert Hoven in the 35th minute. And now a hard foul right in front of the fans. Philip Teese awarding a free kick to Benedictine. Right now, a conversation with Blake Levine. And Jordan Clifford, or Johnny Clifford, excuse me, the senior from Glasgow, Scotland. Should ask what he thought of the Scottish independence vote a couple of weeks ago. The Glasgow area, one of the few Scottish counties to vote yes, as out comes Riggle. He was fouled anyway, was always going to earn a Baker free kick, and he wants to take it quickly. Now inside the final 13 minutes of regulation. Benedictine looking to get off to a winning start in conference play. Same for Baker. The Wildcats gunning for their 5th straight win of the season. This is Gomes on the wing with 3 teammates waiting inside the box, but he was surrounded by 3 different Baker defenders. Young with a player to poke it away.
And right now we're seeing good recovery defense from Baker, but they're putting themselves in positions that they can't afford to, given the fact that they're down by a man, down by a goal at this situation in the game. You have to be sure of where you're sending the ball, especially on goal kicks, if nothing else. You can't put that right to an opposing player.
Well, Benedictine will send a long ball for Priori. Dispossessed by a Baker defender. Here's Didic. You have to imagine he'll be coming forward as an extra attacker in the final few minutes, provided, of course, Benedictine can simply hang on to this 1-0 lead and not add to it. As Jordan Thacker will be brought on shortly by Nick Hauser. As a matter of fact, that change will happen right now in the 79th minute. So Thacker is back for the Wildcats, the sophomore from Overland Park, Kansas. He replaces Cody Sliva. So Taylor Vintage, the senior from Overland Park, Kansas. So far a shutout through 79 minutes. 11 to go here in Atchison. And a hard collision there. One Benedictine player prone to the ground. Phillips dispossessed, forcing Baker to reset, and that was just a good disruption of play on the part of Ryan Dickerson. Not necessarily interested in winning the ball for possession, but just forcing Baker to reset, take a couple more precious seconds off that clock.
And you get numbers behind the ball, and that's the main thing right now for Benedictine. If you can score a goal off the counter and give yourself insurance, you want to. But right now you want numbers behind the ball as well.
Priori to Gomes, wanted to tee up a shot on the left foot, but it was always rising above the crossbar. Riggles Gold not in any serious danger, but he wastes no time in putting the ball on the corner of the 6-yard box to take the goal kick.
And if you get the ball in that kind of dangerous area, you got to put it at least on target. Make the goalkeeper make a save, force a potential rebound chance. Tried to go for the pretty smash going upper 90 on the near side, and it just was never going to be there.
We are inside the final 10 minutes of this NAIA Game of the Week presented by Turbo Sports, and it's about that time that you mentioned, Todd, that Benedictine might be wanting to just get the ball and play keep ball from the Wildcat offense. But first they have to get the ball, and a long clearance towards Priori. Cleared it past Didich, but away from Milot. Young sent it back across midfield.
And to your point as well, so far they've finally regained possession, but they've also cleared a few chances away too, as far away from their own goal as possible.
And a spill there by a defense, across sent back from Phillips. Wanted to set up Keaton Anchors for the potential equalizer. And Benedictine again clears, and now as we get later and later in the match, now in the 82nd minute, how big was that crucial miss from Jordan Thacker earlier in the second half? He had gotten behind Clarizio and had a goal wide open, but couldn't direct it on target.
Yeah, all he had to do was get a little bit of a touch on that. He managed to get a deflection on the ball, but he needed to put it on target. That one is looming ever more huge as the seconds continue to tick off the clock.
Ball was deflected out of bounds. Last touch by Spencer Atkin, and Benedictine have an 82nd minute corner. Herringer will make a substitution. Clay Hagg, a freshman from Topeka, Kansas, makes his first appearance of the evening. He will presumably be brought on for more defensive purposes, as now in the 83rd minute, Priori, you'd have to imagine he would be taking his time on this corner. And again, Philip Teese making sure not a whole lot of contact takes place in the box. That's something we've seen a lot of on corners throughout the night.
Yeah, and Teese has been very strict on everything going on in the box. Any little push, any little tug has been called for a whistle. And the head coach right now for Benedictine, Rob Herringer, telling his players to just keep their arms up.
And for the second time, almost immediately as Priori took the corner kick, Philip Teese whistled for a free kick awarded to Baker. And now they've earned an attacking throw in, which Phillips takes quickly. Down the left wing, intended for Levine. And a clean tackle made by Clarizio, but Baker will reset with another attacking throw in, now in the 84th minute. Phillips wants to send everyone inside the box. Only 3 outfield players are outside of the 18 yards for Baker. All 11 players for Benedictine are inside the box on defense. Throw-in is cleared out. Sent back to midfield where it will be collected by Atkin. Almost lost it to Gomes, who would have had a breakaway had he gotten a critical touch. Cross into the box. Anchors got a touch too heavy, couldn't control it. And Baker having the attacking throw-in at the far end. It will be Preston Phillips to take, the senior from McKinney, Texas. So there is one senior on the Baker roster. Long throw and inside the box, headed by Anchors and covered by Vintage from 2 yards out. Wasn't the most powerful of headers, but Vintage having to scramble just for good measure. And now Benedictine can start to think about playing keep ball or sending the ball downfield for a long clearance. Inside the final 5.5 minutes of regulation time.
Those are the kind of situations on that near chance, though, for Baker. The throats get a little bit dry, the nerves a little bit rattled. Good, confident goalkeeping, smothering the ball.
Running down the left wing is Gomes. Cross into the box, poked out by Riggle, but it fell right to a Benedictine Raven attacker. Clay Hagg's first touch of the ball game nearly sealed the win, but it just went back across the face of goal.
We saw that yesterday in Rockhurst, where they managed to put one over the upper 90 on the far side. You just have to find a way to touch that one in there. The nerves got a little too high there, a little too eager to put that one in, too much behind it, just needed a tap.
Well, Nate Hauser breathing a huge sigh of relief after that wasted opportunity for the Ravens. Here's Phillips. Dancing away from pressure in the middle of the field. Now a critical turnover to Brian Johnson. Hagg. Long ball downfield, and Priori's onside. Inside the box, Priori getting around Didic. And another huge effort that would have put the game away for Benedictine. You see Priori doing well to get around Amir Didic. Kyle Young holding firm just off to the left, but Priori wasn't interested in running in that direction. And in the meantime, Rob Herringer has gone to the bench, bringing on Paul Florsch, a senior from Omaha, Nebraska, to play the final 3 minutes, 42 seconds and counting. And Baker, last to touch the ball out of bounds. Clarizio will take the throw in. And now Philip Teese is going to stop the clock at the 3:27 mark. Going to wait to see an explanation here. A lot of passion, a lot of drama tonight at the BC Soccer Complex in Atchison, Kansas.
And it looks like Benedictine was kind of clearing their bench a little bit. I believe the near side AR, assistant referee, was complaining that he didn't have enough space to run the sideline.
Well, Clarizio will retake a throw in as clock has resumed. Now 3:15 to play and counting in regulation. And a hard foul. Again, only 3 cards given. Teese, for the most part, has let the teams play. The red card, again, given more for language rather than contact, as we are now under 3 minutes to play in the second half.
And I know ever since the national championships last year, that's been a point of emphasis for NAIA officials. Really, they don't want to put up with any kind of language. You're not used to seeing straight reds from it, but nevertheless, it has been a point of emphasis, and we saw it here, and it might end up costing Baker a game.
Gomes' free kick sent into the box and headed over goal. Actually, was last touched by Baker, and Benedictine will have a corner with now 2:25 and counting in the second half.
Bit of gamesmanship here from Benedictine, as you see at any kind of level, taking their sweet time getting over to that corner to take it.
Didic clears the corner out of the 18-yard box towards Shiny. And the pass eventually reaches Phillips. Just a touch too heavy, and now Clarizio will take a throw in inside the final 2 minutes. Benedictine just over 100 seconds away from ending Baker's 4-game win streak and getting the Ravens off to a win in their league opener. Kenneth Clarizio, the lone goal scorer in the 47th minute, as the referee Philip Teese stops the clock again. Wants Baker to take this throw in quickly with 1:31 to play regulation time. It will be Preston Phillips again to take. You see Thacker there, who missed a huge equalizing opportunity just minutes after Clarizio's goal. Clock now running. 1:22 and counting regulation time. Sent back to Atkin. Throw into Benedictine, and when they do so, there will be just over a minute left. Headed on by Florsch. And that clearance from Baker hitting the window just to our right here in the press box.
That's one way to test out the strength of these glass windows.
Yeah, they passed that test, and we're now under 45 seconds to play. Here's Clarizio, lost possession to Shiny. Now bringing it across the midfield line is Blake Levine, and a huge clearance taken by Sean Latz.
And that went off of a Baker player. Looked like it was headed on by Spencer Atkins. So that's probably all she wrote now for Baker, is the clock is definitely not the Wildcats' friend.
Now under 20 seconds to go, and that looks like the throw-in awarded to Baker now. Final chance in the final 10 seconds. Thacker needs to take it quickly, and the Wildcats need to get men forward. A long kick sent rather in desperation. And the Benedictine Ravens open league play with a big 1-0 win over the Baker Wildcats.
Baker heading off the field a little bit dejected, not happy with their performance, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot, putting themselves down by a man early for something as silly as language towards an official, especially when I believe the original foul probably would have been given to Baker. It was just a bad situation for the Wildcats, but all credit goes to the Ravens here tonight. They ended up taking the best of their chances, putting it in the back of the net. The goalkeeper for Baker probably would like to have that one back. He'd like to have that near side post covered, but nevertheless, the Ravens took advantage of their chance, and they get a victory here tonight.
Kenneth Clarizio, the hero of the night, with the lone goal coming in the 47th minute. It's his first goal of the season, and it's enough to take Benedictine's record to 5-4-1 on the season. They are 1-0 in the Heart of America Athletic Conference, while Baker falls to 4-5-1 overall, 0-1 in conference play. And it is a perfect Sports Saturday family weekend for the Benedictine College Ravens. Football beat Evangel 16-6. Women's soccer beat Baker 3-0. And men's soccer beats Baker 1-0 on this NAIA NSCAA Game of the Week presented by Turbo Sports. We'll have a look at final stats and look ahead to our future games on this Game of the Week series. After this quick timeout, you're watching the NAIA Game of the Week presented by Turbo Sports.
The NSCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Always nice to see who you wander across in the hallways, might have a quick word with.
I think it's exciting to meet youth coaches and high school coaches and even college coaches who are all really passionate about the sport.
It's a learning experience. I think it's invaluable both from a coach standpoint and from an administrative standpoint.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. No matter where you are in your coaching path, we have something for you. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
Once again, good evening from the BC Soccer Complex in Atchison, Kansas, and it was a good evening for fans of Benedictine College men's soccer. It was actually a very good day for fans of Benedictine Raven Athletics as men's soccer caps off a perfect sports Saturday at Family Weekend here in Atchison with a 1-0 win over Baker to open conference play. Matt Digby joined by Todd Panula. And Todd, it was a fun game, even though the scoreline finished 1-0, much like last night's game between Rockhurst and Quincy. Both teams had opportunities here. It just only one happened to go in, and that proved to be the difference.
Yeah, we saw both teams have good goalkeeping overall, and ultimately it ended up being just one of those little mistakes made by a goalkeeper that ended up costing them. It was a great shot. You have to give credit to the shooter right there. He was able to bend one with the right foot back over towards the right inside the near side post, but I think that's a situation where the goalkeeper, Riggle, is going to shoot himself as he looks back at that one, because ultimately he needs to protect that near side post. He cheated off a little bit, assuring himself that it was going to be a cross. Instead, it ended up being a shot. But Benedictine, we talked about it. You talked about it during the broadcast, the way their schedule looks for the rest of the season. Only 2 more home games. So opening up conference play with a big win, an emotional win like that, especially staving off Baker there towards the end as they were throwing everything but the kitchen sink at them. Still picking up a win. Regardless of what the scoreline is, it ends up a W, and that's all people remember in the end.
Now, what does this mean for Baker, though? They will go forward, try to get back on the winning streak on Tuesday when they travel to Oklahoma Wesleyan, but they will do so that night and next Saturday night when they host Culver Stockton without the services of Robert Hoven. He was sent off with a straight red in the 35th minute for language, and up until that point, he had been an influential part in the Baker midfield. So exactly how big of a loss is this for the Wildcats going forward the next 2 games?
I think it's a huge loss, not only because of the fact that they're going to be without him, but the way that it happened. If it was a challenge to where the referee just made a decision that it was too much in his eyes, you could almost live with it. But when it's something as silly as language, to where all you have to do is keep your mouth shut and you're going to be playing in the next game, you really put your teammates in a bad position. And to me, it was really a selfish kind of thing right there that he's going to be kicking himself for. And if Baker doesn't have all that great of a season in the end because of the next 2 games to where he's not going to be a part of, then he has only himself to blame.
Yeah, Baker, we should mention again that happened in the 35th minute, meaning they did play nearly an hour with just 10 men, yet were able to hold Benedictine to just 1 goal, but they weren't able to find an equalizer or a game winner themselves. They go forward from this game with a record of 4-5-1, 0-1 in the Heart of America Athletic Conference, while their next game will be Tuesday night at Oklahoma Wesleyan. Benedictine will be on the road next Saturday, October 11th, when they travel to Missouri Valley. They are 5-4-1 on the season, 1-0 in conference play, and that will do it from Atchison, Kansas. For Todd Ward, Scott Cheney, Chase Neidig, and Todd Panula, I'm Matt Digby. Thank you for viewing this presentation of the NSCAA Small College Game of the Week. A reminder, we will join you next on Tuesday evening, October 7th, when we visit Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky, when they host Brescia University. And then on Wednesday, October 8th, we come to you from Marion, Indiana, as Taylor visits Indiana Wesleyan. But for now, this has been a presentation of Turbo Sports Group, the official video streaming production company of the NSCAA Small College Game of the Week. If you would like to purchase game, video, or player-specific highlight reels, be sure to log on to our website, turbosportsgroup.com, TOURBEAU sportsgroup.com. TSGNetwork.com. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we will see you again on Tuesday night. This is the TSG Network.